Hello, I am Nicole, and welcome back to the channel. I think every single time I get in front of this camera, I'm gonna have to relearn how to talk to it. My cat he's being a cat. I thought after making a video about my first PC build last week or so, 2 weeks ago, I would kind of walk you through the ins and outs of it, how much everything costs, where I got everything, kind of my reflections on the build, and maybe some regrets. I'm not gonna say tips. I don't think I can give you any tips. That sounds like it should be illegal. Yeah. Okay, y'all, let's jump right in. So, without further ado, let's start with my CPU. I went with the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. I paid $154.99, not including tax. For reference, I probably won't use tax in any of this video just because every state has different sales tax, so this might be different for you and countries, obviously. Well, I purchased this product from Micro Center. I did this specifically because they offer a coupon for the first CPU you buy from them, so it's $25 off. I will link below where you can sign up with your email if you want to get $25 off your first CPU. So a great deal there. I know I saw some comments about me getting the 7600X versus just the 7600. I actually planned to get just the 7600, and then I kind of got convinced by the salesperson to do the X because it was only $10 more. Do I regret it? No. I mean, I don't really know that I personally can tell the difference between the two, but since I was already getting it at such a cheap price, I felt like the $10 was worth it to me. Okay, next we have my GPU. So I got the Asus, which I think is how you say it, but please don't come at me. I don't know. I looked up how to pronounce it. I think it's Asus. I got the GeForce RTX 4070 overclocked, I don't know, whatever, dual white. I ended up paying $569.99. The only reason I got the OC version was because it was the only version I could find. I didn't want to get the super. I didn't want to pay more money for that. People were saying it's only like $10 more or something like that. That's not true. I kind of have a theme throughout this build. My mantra throughout this build was don't pay more for something that you don't understand. So if I could afford something that was $10 to $50 better, but I didn't necessarily know what difference it would make in my build, then I wasn't going to pay for it. And I'll talk about this a little bit later with the hot topic of that you all felt very strongly about. And you're making me regret my RAM choice a little bit, but anyways, that's a future topic of conversation. Just going with the normal 4070 was plenty for me. This was already, from what I can find, a pretty good mid-tier GPU, and I felt very confident that that was the one that I wanted, and I didn't need to pay more for the super. Next, we have my motherboard. This was actually the last component that I bought for my build. There was a lot of stress that went into this.
Originally, I was really hung up on getting the AS Rocky 650 Steel Legend. Just from what I read, I really wanted that board. It looked beautiful. That board's beautiful. After waiting so long to get my motherboard and it being sold out everywhere, I had finally found it on Amazon for $179.99, and I jumped on it. However, it wasn't supposed to ship until like the end of September, early October, and I was like, that's fine. Like, I can wait. No, I couldn't wait. As soon as my last part came in and I was just waiting on that motherboard, I could not wait. I needed to build this. So I was waiting for this motherboard to come in. And I started reading things on Reddit again because I'm a Reddit girly. Through and through, I will be on Reddit. I was seeing a ton of Reddit posts warning people not to buy AS Rock products from Amazon because they're not an authorized retailer or whatever. Essentially, that combined with the fact that it was going to take another couple weeks to ship to me
kind of solidified my decision that I was going to cancel that order and just go to Micro Center and buy something that they had in stock because I was tired of waiting. After all that deliberation, the motherboard I actually ended up going with was the Gigabyte Aorus B650 Elite Ice Axe. AX? Maybe you don't say axe. This board actually only ended up costing me $199.99. I was happy with this. It was only $20 more than I was going to pay for the Steel Legend, but I could get it right away. It was in my hands. That was important to me at the time. It was also important to me that this board was white or silver. I also talked with someone at Micro Center that recommended against some other B650 boards that I was interested in, so that's kind of how I came to this conclusion. I'm not an expert. Okay, next is my storage. I chose to get the WD Black 2TB SN850X NVMe internal gaming SSD, and I got it with a heatsink. I know, another bad decision. I paid $149.99 from Amazon. I think it was an extra $5 to not have the heatsink put on it, so it was actually cheaper for me to buy storage with the heatsink already attached. I also didn't know your motherboard will come with its own heatsink and you don't need one. Now that I've installed it, I'm like, dang, it would have been a lot prettier if I used my motherboard's heatsink. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, I didn't know, and it was a cheaper option. Okay, my CPU cooler. So originally I wasn't even going to buy a CPU cooler. I was going to use the stock cooler, but I decided against it after doing some more Reddit post reading, as I'm so good at. I ended up going with the Arctic Freezer 36 ARGB in white. I just got off of Amazon for $33.87. It was super cheap. I'm super happy with it, and it wasn't on sale or anything. I really looked for the cheapest one, and this was, I think Arctic is recommended for budget air coolers, so I recommend that if you're looking for a cheap one. Okie dokie, my power supply. This was also something I struggled with. I really wanted a Super Flower power supply, but it went out of stock. And when it came back in stock, it was like $200. And I was like, no way. What we ended up with was the Corsair 750 watt 80 plus gold fully modular ATX power supply in white. Did you hear my stomach growling? I'm hungry. I ended up paying $109.99 for this from Amazon. All these products are kind of always on some kind of sale on Amazon. So before buying this, I really went back and forth on whether I wanted to get an 850 watt or 750 watt. I always knew that either would be plentiful for this build. The 850 watt power supplies I was seeing were just more expensive, and I just didn't feel like I needed it. I don't feel like I'm gonna upgrade my PC anytime soon. I invested in quality pieces and I don't feel limited by them. At least I hope they don't break or anything like that. Also combined with the fact that on PC Part Picker or whatever and all those other calculators online, my estimated watt usage was like maxed at like 450 watts. Okay, the ever controversial RAM discussion. I'm gonna tell you guys what I did for RAM, but you're not gonna like it. I already know. For RAM, I went with the Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR5 RAM, 32 gigabytes, 5200 megahertz, CL40. I paid $104.99 for my RAM from Amazon. I know. Take your time, insult me in the comments, do what you need to do. And basically, my decision for this was made because going back to that philosophy from before, I know that the AMD Ryzen 5 7600 specifications on the back of that box say 5200 megahertz RAM. I think anything above that is overclocking. I'm not an expert. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Am I kind of kicking myself now? Yes. Since then, I've looked at the 6000 megahertz RAM with CL30, and it is only $134.99. So it would have been $30 more than what I was paying. And at the time, that didn't really feel necessary to me. I could have paid the extra $30, but I knew that my system would like boot up with the 5200. However, after seeing how many people thought that was bad, I'm like, you guys probably know more than I do. But I did know going in that the latency and the speed were not the best that they could be. That was a conscious decision on my part. I was just being cheap. Also, white RAM tends to be more expensive than if I bought RAM that was black. So everything was kind of already upcharged, if that makes sense, because I wanted it to be all white and have lights. Okay, guys, last part is my case. From the beginning of this whole build, I always thought I would use the Corsair 3500 series case with the RGB fans. And then, honestly, like right before I started purchasing any of my components, I was like, this seems kind of expensive for just a case. And I was just seeing some like not so positive reviews on it. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to spend over $100 on a case that has like meh reviews. So I was like kind of just browsing, and I ended up coming across the NZXT H5 Flow case in white on Amazon. And it just so happens that Amazon was running a promo with my specific credit card. I actually got it $15 off. This case was already very cheap, and then the fact that I had the coupon, it kind of just sold it for me. It was just so cheap. I was like, how can I not get this case? It only cost me $64.99, and this included four fans, two ARGB fans, and then two non-regular fans. For me, this was a steal. Like I got a whole case and four fans for $65. Great deal for me. So that gives me a grand pre-tax total of $1,388.80, which I was so happy with. I honestly expected to spend around $1,500 give or take on this build. I was super happy that I came in below that goal. Even with tax, it was below that. I think that being patient and just kind of shopping around really can allow you to find these items at a cheaper cost. Maybe other people disagree. Maybe they think that this was actually really expensive for what I got, but I was really happy with it. Okay. Answering some questions, making some reflections, offering some insight, telling you what I regret. I don't know. That's what this section is. So, do I regret building my first PC versus just buying a pre-built? And the answer to that is no. I had literally so much fun building this. I was such in like a flow state the entire day. It took me like 8 hours of between filming and building at the same time. I just had so much fun. Like, I would not trade that for the world. But I feel like part of the fun of the PC build is that I got to research all of these components and make the decisions and kind of customize it to whatever I wanted. And also, like, putting it all together was like a puzzle. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just following various instructions I found online. But on the flip side, I did go through some troubleshooting, which I will kind of talk about, but that part was stressful. I think if my computer didn't work, I would have been extremely frustrated if I had gone through that entire process just for it to not turn on. So I can definitely understand the flip side of that where, you just want a PC and you don't want to have to spend $1,500 on parts just for it to not work, because I think that could be really challenging for someone who's never done this before. Just having it handed to you ready to go, all you have to do is turn it on, would be pretty nice. However, with that said, I would strongly encourage anyone to try to build their own PC. When I say I know nothing, I knew nothing before I involved myself in the process and started doing my research on Reddit and YouTube and whatever other websites I used. So if I can do it, you can do it. Another thing I struggled with, and something that was pointed out by some of you, was the placement of my PC on the ground, but it's on like a computer riser, so it's not directly on the ground. I live in a zoo, and when I tell you a zoo, I mean a zoo. I live with a dog and 2 crazy cats. Their fur is like pretty much everywhere despite my best efforts, and there's no way of keeping fur out of this thing. Like, there's no way. I knew it had to be off the floor. I knew that dust and stuff would collect in it if I kept it on the floor, but honestly, like, it's not going to fit on my desk. I have like a 2-tiered desk. There's no placement on the desk in which it's not just kind of in the way. So unfortunately, that's not an option, and I honestly think it's better off on the riser, because when I was building the PC on my desk, my cat loved to climb on top of it and sit there. It's like a high place when it's on top of my desk, and my cat obviously loves sitting on high places. It would actually be in more danger from the animals when it was on the desk versus on its riser, because now they can't sit on it at all. That's my decision making process there. Another concern people seem to have, which I had too, don't worry, was the fact that my case is kind of facing towards the wall, so you can't see all the light displays that I worked so hard to put in there. The unfortunate part about this is I do have a door on this side of my desk and my closet on this side of my desk. I'm kind of limited where I can put my PC, and I did try it out on the side near the door. It would have all the display facing into the room for me to see, but it really just like looked ugly there. It closed off my desk from the rest of the room and it made the entrance feel crowded. And I do have plans to make it more visible. So I actually have plans to close my closet door and put a mirror lower on the wall next to my computer so that hopefully I can see in the reflection until my space changes in some way. I thought about getting a reverse motherboard and getting a compatible case so that I could do a right-sided build, because that's less common if you didn't know that, because I think that's just like more common for people's spaces, but whatever. There are reverse products, but I didn't feel like for my first build I had the tools necessary to kind of take on that alternative style of build. I watched a reverse motherboard connector video and I honestly felt more stressed watching that. Didn't want to try to take on too much in this first build. That was kind of my decision there. I know that it's sad that I put all that work into it and now it's facing away from me. I know. I think that's just the way the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. I'm gonna try to fix it though. I really am. Another thing I wanted to talk about was troubleshooting. I did not show it in my build video like at all, but I had some problems booting up my system. You saw me boot it up outside the case, which was totally fine, but then when I put it into the case, something must have happened. I don't know if it was like a loose connection. I don't know what changed. Like, I feel like I followed all the steps exactly as when I did it outside the case. And basically during that time, I was booting up and I was getting the boot light, and then I would get a RAM light. So I knew something must be wrong because I was getting these weird lights, but I didn't know exactly what could have gone wrong because my RAM was fully seated. And so when I started looking at troubleshooting online, it was like when you look up some health symptom you're having and everyone's like, you're gonna die. That's how it felt. And so it was very scary, and I didn't feel like any of the troubleshooting had the exact same issue or the exact same components that I had. So I felt like I was kind of on my own to figure it out. I just ended up reseating my RAM. So I took it out and I tried to boot it with just the primary RAM slot. So I just used one of my RAM sticks. I literally feel like an alien talking about this. I don't even know what I'm saying. But I tried booting it up with just one of the RAM. That didn't work. So then I reseated the second RAM. And after I reseated the second RAM, it was able to turn on. So it must have been something about the connection there, but I don't know why that would have been an issue because it seemed fully seated and it also was already there before, and I didn't disconnect it to move it into the case. So yeah, I don't know what happened. Can someone tell me if that was because my RAM was too slow? Could that have been it? I have no idea. But I will say that reseating your RAM when your motherboard is already attached to your case is really scary. It's really freaking scary. It felt like I was gonna break the motherboard. I was pretty much breaking down at that point. I thought all hope was lost because people were saying things were broken, and it's scary. Troubleshooting's scary, and I would say that, I don't know, all I had was the internet, and the internet was not that helpful. But yeah, I think that's kind of everything I wanted to say about this build. I had a really great time making it. I want to thank you all for being so invested in the build. I encourage you all to try to build your own PC if you haven't before. It was more positives than negatives, and I think there's a lot of resources out there to help first-time PC builders. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I hope that this has inspired you to, I don't know, make your own build, revamp your build, subscribe to me. I'm just so happy about it. It was so fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, bye-bye for now. I feel like I don't know how to yawn correctly. Is that what I look like when I yawn? Will YouTube take that sound? I hope not. I hope not, because that's pretty. It's watercolor. Hi, y'all. Sorry. It's me from the future again. I'm gonna keep doing this forever. I hope this is working. All I know is I came back to say some stuff. I swear to God.